Oh, wow.
Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh, it's just disappeared.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Truth Proof. Pull my mic round. Hello everybody, welcome to Truth Proof. Hope you've all had a good weekend, and I have. So that's all that matters to me. But I hope you guys have as well, and you're maybe looking forward to work tomorrow. I don't know, but yeah, we've been busy. It's been good. Ended up in North Yorkshire again yesterday, quite unexpectedly. So spent a day with Chris Wright in the forests, which were really enjoyable. So I don't know what you guys have been doing in between times. Michael's been up. It's been good to spend some time with him, and Linny, Pete, Jack, everybody else Chris, Jeremy, with all people that come on up onto cliff tops, and it's been quite eventful. It's been interesting, you know, and we may have, I say we, Jeremy managed to capture something on his thermal camera, which he sent me, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that shortly. We keep talking about these strange appearances and things that we see on thermal that disappears. Has he captured it? I hope so, but you guys can be judge as well as me. So, but let's just have a look. And I've also got a really good email to read, but I just don't know where to start first, because if I read email, there's going to be some questions for that, and we might not get to these other little bits. So let's just play it by ear. So what we got? Well, we're going for 200 people here, so we'll just do a few names, and I think Gemma's doing moderating. Not sure if Alison is. I know Lee is. A Stargazer, Susan Wiseman, Blue Shift Robs, Sober Carper. Let's have a look here. Pointer. Let's Liam 40 and 23. Thudder 65. Light Dazzles. PJA. I've not seen PJA aim before, so good to see you. Tim Stoker. Let's have a look. And yeah, there's loads. I only see a small section of people, and I can see that there's quite a lot in already. So apologies, because we're not going to get through you all. Oh, Jill Olsen, good to see you, Jill. I hope Carl's okay. And all good. So where do we start, really? Well, there's a little bit of footage. We've got loads of footage that either we film ourselves or other people send, and there was just a little bit sent to me other day by Kevin Fitzgibbon, and it's not earth-shattering, but it's interesting because he's in a rock pool. I don't know, just doing whatever you do in a rock pool in Cornwall. And let's have a look at date on 15th of October. And he films this. What is it? Is it an helicopter turning in distance? You guys bit judge. We'll just put this up, and we'll get this one over with, and we might get a question for it, we might not. So let's have a look. So we need to start it from the beginning, I suppose.
Where is it? Oh, yeah. I can't really get it. It's gone.
What do you guys think to that? I mean, we see a lot of lights like that out over the North Sea, Flamborough, Bempton, and, you know, sometimes you mistake it. You think you're seeing some exotic, should we say. And if you watch long enough, or you've got a decent camera, and I'm not saying that's what it is with Kevin's, but if you've got a decent camera, you'll see navigation lights and you'll see a bit of flashing that you don't pick up on the phone. So is that just a light that's just sort of overexposed? It's daytime, isn't it? And 15th of October, I think North Cornwall. So, you know, somebody might watch this later and say, yeah, I saw that as well, or I can tell you now that was search and rescue helicopter. So we just thought we'd throw that one in. And along the cliff tops, lots of things have been seen over the years, as you know. Lots of people have made reports, which I put out to you guys. And one of the things that's been seen are eye shine. And I think we're, as I say, we, as in the team that go up there, are familiar with everything that's up there that's sort of a natural animal. Deer, fox, badger. You know when you hit it with a torch that you know just about what you're looking at. Plus, with the added help of the thermal camera, you can see the outline. Or can you? We'll get to that in a moment. And a chap contacted me called Rob, who'd come on holiday to the Thornic site with his wife. Keen to stress, and I've got a lengthy recording from this man. Hopefully at some point I'm going to meet up with him, but he allowed me to record him telling me what he'd seen, because he's keen to stress that in his younger years he used to do a lot of hunting. I'll leave it at that. Badger, fox, pheasant, and a bit of pest control. So basically what I'm saying is he's familiar with eyes. So all you're going to get, and I've just thrown a little bit of footage to it just to carry the audio, so that footage does not really belong to it. You're going to get this man's a few words from this man over a minute, but I think there's about 30 minutes of conversation. Harry leads me into it, and he's walking along the cliff tops. And as these people are walking and describing what they're saying, he's saying, he says, do you want me to run you into the distressed sheep at first? And I says, yeah, go on then. So he's walking along. It's full moon. So it's the 6th of October this year. There's no correlation to full moon and strangeness. I'm not trying to suggest that, but he said we'd got a torch, but we didn't really need it. We could see along the moonlit path. And incidentally, I think we were up there, but I'm not certain. I think we were. He said, and I heard a sheep bleating, sounded distressed. And when I looked over into the neighbouring field, so I know where it was, I said, was there a big ridge of land in front of you, other end of field? He said, yeah. So he's at north side of Danes Dyke. And he could see a sheep with its head stuck in the wire, the square wire. He jumped over the fence to try and free it, to assist it, and it were enough to free itself, the shock of seeing someone come towards it. So that were that, no mystery there. So then they walk on and they come to the viewing platform called Staple Nuke. And there'll be some people who've been in the area who'll be familiar with this. So he said, I'm stood there with my wife, and we're just talking. There's no strange feeling of silence. It's a quiet night, but there's nothing untoward. Shines his torch down the cliff, looking down. And instantly he lights up a pair of really big golden or amber eyes. Now the cliff sort of tapers down, very steep, but not sheer, for about 30 to 40 feet. Then it just becomes a sheer rock face, anything from 200 to 400 feet. So he's looking at these eyes and he can't work it out. So the first thing he can't work out when he's looking at these eyes is the size of them. He says, my mind's still telling me it's a fox. It's a fox hunting. And, I'll put my hand up. I'll be first to admit we've seen fox taking gannet, the big seabirds along those cliff tops. But what makes it more interesting, this man says that he's familiar with fox and badger and everything. He says these weren't fox. The width between the eyes was just too big, and the eyes were as big as ping pong balls. There's another element that's interesting, because he can't see anything else except eyes. How does that work? This is what he's telling me. He can see nothing else except eyes. Because I says, could you see an outline? Could you see shoulders? Could you see a back of anything? Can't see nothing. It's just like a pair of eyes that have lit up. It's a moonlit night, and he can't see what the eyes belong to. So he turns his torch off and shouts his wife, come and have a look at this. She walks over, and he's expecting them really to be gone. And when he puts his torch on, they're still there looking up at him. His wife, the eyes were so wide apart that his wife thought it were two animals. Because, that's basically exactly what she thought. Then it turned to one side. So if you imagine a ping pong ball and you cut it in half and you lit up the inside of it, and you've got that domed. He says, we could actually see that. It was like looking into prisms. It's really, really bright, not self-illuminating, but really bright ambery orange colour in the light. And these eyes turn back to him and they're looking up at him. That's kind of not the actions of an animal. Now, a normal animal. So what I've done, probably just a minute of his verbal here, so you can hear him talking about it. We'll put that up and I'll stop rambling on about it. Here we go. So the footage does not belong with this. I just needed something to sort of back onto the footage. Here we go.
Well, I knew this was not a fox because years and years ago, when I was a nipper growing up, and that I worked on farms and things like that. I used to go out lambing at night, shooting foxes and rabbits and things like that. I know it's probably not the done thing to do these days in some fraternities, but that's what I used to do. And I knew damn well what a fox looks like because I've lit many up with a lamp.
Yeah.
You know, and I know what a fox looks like at night. And I knew that these eyes, when I looked at them, there was no way that was a fox because they were just too bright, too big, and too far apart.
Okay, so you've sort of got the gist of that, haven't you? Too bright, too big, too far apart. We don't know what it is. And obviously I can't just sit here and let you guys listen to this guy's running commentary because that wouldn't be fair. You may as well just listen to a podcast. But I'll fill in the blanks because, you know, that will be made into a short that we'll put out at some point, or I will put out at some point with imagery that matches where he was, so that, you know, as he's speaking and walking along, you're gonna go on the journey with him. But isn't it fascinating that he's looking at this animal, whatever it is, and there's no body, there's nothing physical to see, no silhouette, there's absolutely, and he's got a torch on it. So how does that work? You know, I really don't know myself. And anybody got any views on it? And if we don't get to your questions, well, we don't get to them. It's simple as that. Let's just have a look. We got, Alison's in. Good to see you, Alison. Let's have a look. The Saxon, Linda Amet, Mike Canetti, Phil Morgan. Phil Morgan, yes, Phil. You might feature in. I think it's you. Yeah, you will do. What I'm going to talk about in a bit, to be honest with you. So Lee Roscoe, I am Mogul. But let's just have a look at this first. So any viewers on Snainton sighting earlier this month? Not really, Steve. Perhaps one Sunday, if you've got the time. I'm sure you will have, because you're always giving us great support in here. You can come back on and go through some of these sightings and reports, and we can have your views on them. So that's a short and sharp one, really, isn't it? Right. Saw something potentially strange last night over Leeds. Was just getting dark. Looked like two planets close together. Just caught my eye. Then both faded away. Looked very odd. That's interesting, Ian. You know, because we kind of put our hands up all the time on these cliff tops. Linny, Pete, we do see these things, and if one of us is facing opposite direction and you catch it, you tell others, and just as they're turning around to look, they're fading away. You know, I don't know whether it's some natural phenomenon or some satellite or something. We see huge flashes of light that just flare up in the sky. Your attention's brought to them straight away, but you don't see anything else. And, you know, I'm not attributing that to some kind of alien visitation, I'll be honest with you. You know, a lot of what people are seeing, myself included, there's probably a perfectly rational explanation. We just haven't got to it. But you're at the right place when you come to Truth Proof, because we do know that there's a reality that's totally way above anything that's normal. We know that, and that's out there. So, you know, we just got to keep digging, and that's why I love these live streams. I love having an answer to you guys, because you're always... John Platt, I'm just looking if there's any questions. And like we've got there, right, Lee Roscoe, can you please write your questions in uppercasing, please? And I'm just going down here, guys. Bear with me, because we'll get to this next little bit, which is it. You can throw some questions at me, because it does help me, to be honest with you. Okay, so over the last few years, and it's helped since we've purchased thermal cameras, we've thought that we've seen things on thermal, actual people, and then there's been nothing there, you know, and you've no proof of it, because a lot of time, although you've got the recording capacity with thermal, if you see two people walking in thermal, you don't think to film them, because it's just two people walking. Every time you stick it onto land and you see a deer, you don't film it. It's only when two people don't arrive that you think, what's been happening here? And this will make sense in a moment. Let's just have a look. So we'll go back a few years to myself and Pete, and we were at North Landing. And I have some footage for this. I did a short of it, but I can't put it to hand at the moment, but that's not a problem. So me and Peter up on North Landing, and we're at the very top of the of the landing, looking down into the cove and where the old lifeboat station is. And people might have heard me speak about this before, and if you have, just bear with us, because what you're going to see at end is interesting when I get through all these little sightings. So a car pulled up, and it went, instead of parking in the top car park, it went down the slipway, which is very steep towards the lifeboat. And there's a small parking area midway down where the old winding station used to be to pull the fishing boats, the little cobbles up. So they parked there. And two men and a woman got out. It's pitch black, remember? And they proceeded to walk down to the front of the lifeboat station. And I've played this footage before. I wish I'd got it now tonight, guys, but I'll just run you through it. They'd got 2 dogs with them. I think they were a boxer dog and a terrier or a little staffy or something. You know, we're looking in dark. So there I stood again the lifeboat station, which is all now sort of not derelict, but it's not unused. And they're in the darkness. You can see them with thermal camera and you can actually hear them. And the dogs set off barking at the banking, which is a steep banking. Imagine a cove. It's about 400 foot, this cove, long, and it's about 600 foot long and 400 foot wide. I'm sad, aren't I? I've Google Earthed all this, you know, when I've been looking at other stuff. So the dogs are barking at this banking, both dogs going mad at it as though there's someone there. And me and Pete can physically watch these dogs physically moving round as though they're following something. And they go onto the beach and they're sort of going for something that's not there along the beach. Put a thermal on, can't see anything, got to admit. They're shouting the dogs aren't coming back. And they get right across the full width of the beach and then they're barking at the other end towards where we're stood in the darkness. But they're unaware of us. So that was that. These people eventually leave. The dogs come back. They get to the back of the car, put the thermal on the back of the car. Behind the car, on some soft ground that tapers down to the cliffs, there's a big heat signature. Dogs are barking at it like mad. Can't tell what it is. It's just a huge heat signature, you know, as big as 2 people. Just there. It's weird. And they get in the car, drive off, and this dissipates. Now, I filmed some of that. I didn't film it straight away, but I filmed some of that. So we got that, and we've got the sequence of the dogs barking. So that's that. Then let's move forward, because that was probably about 4 years ago. And we all come at various times when we visit the cliff tops. I hope I'm not boring you guys. I see Ian Linney's in. All right, Ian, it's good to see you. Mrs. Linney and Mia Girl and Daz, is it Daz Green? Yeah, Daz Green, Rachel Martell. Sorry for stopping. Tony Worrell, Scotch Mist. Let's stop. Right, so Jeremy came a bit later on this night and he parked in the top car park. And there's just a hard standing for about 10 cars, and then you come down into the bottom one. So he wouldn't normally do that. So we didn't know it were him. It turns out his phone had rang, so he stopped. Long ways in parking bays, which didn't matter. There was nobody there. So he's obviously on his phone in the darkness, and his back door handle got tried, flipped up and went down, which really unnerved him because we're supposed to be in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing. Right, we didn't know any of that till he got to us. So that's the backstory. 5-10 minutes later, we see car headlights come on because obviously he started his car and decided he's going to go down into the bottom car park. But we still didn't think it was Jeremy. So I put the thermal camera on, and coming down the path, I see 2 people. And I imagine, looking at the distance, because I can only see 2 white sticks because they're a long way away, that they're about 20 feet apart, one behind the other. And I said to Ian, and I'm not sure if Pete were there, I think it was just me and Ian, I don't think it's Jeremy because there's 2 of them. And that was that. Nothing more. So I see them as they go through the edges, and I still see them keeping the same distance apart. And eventually Jeremy arrives where we are, all flustered, all upset with himself. And he genuinely were, because he'd been sat there on his phone and the back door handle of his car went up and clattered down. And he told us this. And obviously I'd already said I'd seen 2 people in thermal camera. And so I'm glad I did. Obviously never bothered filming them. You don't just film people because they're walking about on thermal. Otherwise you'd be doing it every day. So that was that. So that were interesting. That were kind of odd. And then there was, I think Ian can correct me if I'm wrong here, if he wants to. Well, you might not actually, because I might never get to answer. But Ian were looking in his thermal at the fishermen coming off the cliff tops one night in the distance, and he can see one that's not with them all that just seems to disappear. And I remember him commenting on it at the time. And we get all these things happening, and we don't. What's that? And we don't make a lot of it. You know, it's just little quirky anomalies. And then last week, Phil, I think it's Phil who was in chat, or a few weeks ago, Phil came up onto the cliff tops. He'd come for a few days in Bempton and surrounding area. He went all over the place, and fair play to him, because he was walking about all over in the darkness. Really brave of him, to be honest with you. And he arrived from Speeton one night, and he stayed with us and struck up a conversation. And then a few nights later, let's say this one Monday, on the Wednesday night, I'm looking down the cliffs, and I put the thermal camera on, and I said, there's two men down there, two men coming. Similar distance apart to what Jeremy and the other one was. And I passed comment to the lads, there's two men. It's nothing to record. It's not worth recording. It's just two men. I don't know. Eventually, we saw two lights as well. So that one would have been Phil's torch, and another one. So, and everybody saw that. I was the only one that saw the two heat signatures. So eventually, Phil arrives with us, and we all said to him, "Anybody else with you down there?" And remember, this is the cliff tops. This has not got no lighting. It's got no properties. There's nothing there. North Sea fields, nothing. No, they're just me. Said there was somebody else with you. They saw the light. I saw the heat signature, but nothing. So that's fascinating. And I call it so kind of the next one I'm talking about. I've kind of termed it as Jeremy's, the extra man, if you know what I mean. So Jeremy likes to wander off into the darkness. He's always done it ever since he's been coming up there with us. And this was only, let's just have a look. Well, I think it will last Wednesday. So we're pretty close. And when he got back, how did it go? Anything? You see anything? Did you perceive anything? I filmed something interesting on thermal, and he started to show us it, and it looks like a figure in the distance. So he's actually caught something. When he advanced towards it, there's nothing there. There's no one there. So I asked him to send me the footage. Now there's about 4 minutes. All I've done for you guys tonight is just break it up and put a few reference points, because there's a fixed camera. So you've got the outline of the fixed camera and the heat signature. And basically, there's nothing else up there. You've got the fencing running down, and you're looking at it with a thermal camera. Anybody who's used a thermal camera, if the conditions are a little bit misty, they do struggle. But I don't think this is pareidolia what Jeremy's filmed. So I really hope we get to some questions. But let's just play this, and you guys tell me what you think. And there's 4 minutes of this, but we'll sort of expand on it, and once again walk in the area with a camera with clarity, so that you guys can see what he saw, only not through the thermal. So see what you think to this.
It's the camera.
Hold on, we'll start at the beginning, guys. Let's start at the beginning.
I'm not sure what that is. Just for reference, there's the fence. There's the camera. And that looks like a person.
He's walking down towards it now.
was that?
What do you think? If it was somebody crouched down in the grass afterwards, he'd have seen them. You don't go over them cliffs. You don't go over the edge, else that's it. It's lights out. So in the time that he advanced towards it, where did it go? Am I imagining it? I don't think that's pareidolia. There was somebody stood there, in my opinion, and it makes you wonder. I mean, Jeremy been fortunate enough to capture it on thermal? It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Remember the night that Linny captured that incredible orb in the field on thermal? We saw something further down the cliff top path that we advanced towards. And when we got there was nothing there. We had a spell a few months ago, well, probably more, 6 months ago, where the phenomena, if that's what you want to call it, it had almost morphed into, every time we went up there, the only things that we were seeing were the shapes of people, as in just one, the dark silhouetted shape. I see Carl dancing. Carl's seen it. Linny's seen it. Pete's seen it. I've seen it. Lots of people, and people unconnected to us, have contacted me and they said they'd seen it. Then it dropped off. But what's Jeremy got there? Do you think he's captured what we've been looking at? I think potentially he has. I'm just looking. Let's have a look. I'm missing half of these. I'm probably going to miss some questions here, guys. I do apologise. But let's have a look. Let's have a look. Yes. Could be a person in an IR blocking ghillie suit. Why not? You know, I'm not going to disagree with you. You know, like we said, it's still unexplained, isn't it? It's still quite, in a way, it's quite sinister if that's what's happening. But if he's got an IR blocking or an infrared, this is thermal, not infrared, remember. So he can see heat signature, can't it? Or it can see something, it's picking something out. Well, where did it go to? Did he remove his suit? And I'm not saying you're wrong, but because all answers are worthy of a bit of scrutiny, unless somebody's just saying it's absolute BS, in which case, move on. You know, you're in the wrong place. But you know, the camera can't lie, or it can. I mean, we can see Jesus in a slice of toast, but that's not lying, is it? Do you know what I'm saying? You know, that's not pareidolia. Looks like there's a figure stood there. Whether it's somebody in a ghillie suit, I don't know. If I'd just be saying, well, where did it go? Because them cliff tops, you don't go right, you don't go left, you just have to go straight down. When he moved to, it was there when he moved towards it, and there were only probably 15 seconds. And when he looked back, it had gone. And even if it were advancing into distance, I don't have an answer to it. I see Carl Dan says, not in capitals. Is that a backpack? You know, Carl, that's what I thought as well. Did it have some kind of backpack on? I mean, I can play it again, you guys, if you want me to, but I don't want to. Well, I don't mean I don't want to. I don't want to just sit here in silence if that's not what you're wanting. Let's have a look here. Looks like a person with a backpack, but a backpack wouldn't be throwing off a heat signature unless it's an animal facing him, and I can just see behind twisted a bit. It's difficult, isn't it, Bumps? I really don't know. And it just makes you wonder what's out there. And thank God for thermal cameras. You know, without the thermal camera, you know, Ian wouldn't have been able to film that incredible sphere. Me and Ian wouldn't have filmed what looks like volcanic lava coming out of the bottom of the cliffs. And no matter what anybody says, in bottom of those cliffs on a rough, heavy sea, and you've got all the line of the cliff line, yet you've just got one area where it's glowing red hot and taking heat back out. And as the new cold water comes in, it takes heat back out with it. It can't be denied. You know, and it's brilliant. That's what I like about having this kind of tech, because you could tell somebody this and they'd go, what a load of. Well, I don't believe a word of it, but the proof's there. Don't believe a word of these shadow beings. That's not forced to have been what Jeremy filmed. I realise that, but what was it? Come on, now give us your suggestion. Somebody said a person in a ghillie suit. That's probably a really plausible one, but, you know, they'd still be throwing some heat out, wouldn't they? Packed into a ghillie suit, and they'd still have to go somewhere. You know, I just find it fascinating. Let's go down a bit, see whether we've got hotels. Linda, Tom, Fezzy Peach, Paul Sinclair, Jem Sinclair, thank you. Carl Dan, let's have a look. let's have a go at this. Scottish Paranormal Podcast. It's Chris. Good to see you, Chris. In a recent Ross Coulthard interview to security at nuclear weapons storage base, continually see figures on thermal, even residual ground heat after checking the spot. Yeah, and I haven't seen that one, guys, and I'd recommend anybody watch that Ross Coulthard one. And why am I doing it without seeing it? Because so many people have recommended that I have a look at it. It's just been times just not allowed me to do that, but I will do. So what do you think? Is it similar? And the reason that people have asked me to look at that one is just because they say that what the security guy at the nuclear weapons storage base was talking about and explaining that he'd seen, it sounded very much like what we're seeing, what we're experiencing up there on those cliff tops. And it's brilliant, isn't it? You know, for the people, you know, sat watching your TV with your curtains drawn, probably might latch onto one of these or something and going, well, I've lived here all my life. You know, it's a famous bit of spiel from me, not famous, but it's a usual bit of spiel from me because people do say that. But you're not on those cliff tops, are you? You weren't in the forests in North Yorkshire the other day with me climbing up and down these ravines on my hands and knees. Literally, it nearly killed me. You know, but I loved it. It was brilliant. But you're not going to get to where these things have been seen and reported unless you actually get in those locations. And who else has stood up there? Do you know Michael? Michael came and he's been here a week, and he saw that. I don't know what you'd even call it at Danesdyke. He saw something at Danesdyke, and I'll not go too deep into it at this stage, but it really shook him up, and rightly so. And when you could almost feel the tension when he was back in the location or back at the location with his mannerisms and everything, and quite jumpy, because when you first see these things, sometimes it takes a while for it to digest what you've actually seen, what you've actually experienced. Jeremy said he didn't feel frightened when he saw that figure. And if we'd have played all of the footage, all 4 minutes of it, you'd have actually seen that he were going to walk down. Well, he were walking down to it. He says, well, who is it? I'll not know till I go and see, will I? And that's what he was doing. I mean, I wish he'd have stayed where he was in a way, just to see whether this thing would have, I don't know, moved, would have disappeared. I don't know where it could have gone. So let's just let's see if there's any more questions, guys. Yes, let's have a look. You've had lots of military up there before, Paul. Maybe they're watching them. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we have wondered, user, what the heat signatures are on the thermal camera that the guys with the thermals have managed to film. Carl Dan, who's in chat, recently bought a thermal, or this year, and he captured something. And I've got that footage, not done anything with it yet. And it's big. It's whatever it is, it's big, and it looks like it could be a vehicle, but there's no, and it's all glowing, by the way. But there's no vehicles on those fields. Beauty about Carl's bit of footage, if and when I get round to putting it together, is as he's telling me he can see it, I've got the Psionics camera on the same area, and you can actually hear Carl's voice on my Psionics and my voice on his, if that makes sense. So you know that there's two cameras filming. I can't see anything with Psionics, and that's a good low light camera, but he's picking this heat signature up. So it really does make you wonder, doesn't it? You know, and say Ian filmed that. How long have these things been there? Is it new military tech that's been tested, even tested, thinking, well, there's guys go up there who are looking for unexplained phenomena, looking for UFOs. Let's put this in air at a reasonable distance away, and let's see whether they actually detect it. Is that too much of a leap into the dark, so to speak, to suggest that might be what's happening? Or is it some true exotic equipment, something else other than man-made? I don't see why it couldn't be. I mean, look at the things that are being reported, not just there, but all around. And when you look at, like I said, we've been up onto the forests in North Yorkshire this weekend, and I kind of throw myself into the annals of folklore while I'm in there, and you think to yourself, what those people hundreds of years ago were talking about is what the witnesses of present day are talking about. It's the same phenomena. You know, I found in an archive in Bridlington in the Free Press, written by this chap called Howard Brearley, 120 odd years ago, and he's talking about the Bar Guest of East Ayton. And funnily enough, James Coppett, who does a lot of ghost walks and ghosty type things in Scarborough, he rang me tonight, and I was talking to James, and he said, just out of the blue, that's the reason that's come into my head. He says, I've got a friend, and I'll not say who he is because he's quite well known in Scarborough. He said he's seen the Bar Guest. I says, well, really? I says, would he talk to me? And that's the name he used. He didn't say werewolf. He didn't say dogman. That's the name he used. And basically, the Bar Guest is, for want of a better word, it's what people are describing as the werewolf, the dogman. It's of a similar ilk. But where am I going with it? Back in the annals of folklore, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, these things had self-illuminating eyes. They didn't say, oh, bioluminescence. They said huge glowing eyes that sort of loomed out of the darkness. They didn't have high-powered torches. These things are the same things from yesteryear of what people are seeing today. So that's, in my opinion, not military tech. That is a throwback to something truly paranormal that's never really left. Whether it's resident to the woodlands and forests of North Yorkshire and other places, I really don't know. My gut feeling is it's not. I think it's something truly from the paranormal realm. But, I stand to be corrected. What do I know? I know more than you guys, I don't think. And some of you will know more. What we got here? Let's have a look. Chris Mack. Right. Did the figure not move in the full footage, Paul? You would think the face would be lit up as a heat source. Spot on, Chris. And I'd not thought of that, mate. That's really good. Chris comes up onto cliff tops with us. And I'd not even thought of that unless he'd got some kind of full facial covering on, because you're right. I mean, when we do use the thermal cameras, and you get a face that's exposed, it's absolutely glowing, be it red hot, white hot, whatever color palette you've got the thermal on, and there's nothing with that. And I wouldn't have thought it would have had its back to Jeremy, probably fully aware of him coming, that, or I don't know, maybe it didn't, but why did it disappear then when he advanced towards it? You made a really good point there, Chris. Incidentally, Chris, when we had what I called the visitation, I don't know, Chris gave me a date earlier. I asked him for it. I couldn't remember it, but sorry about that, Chris. But when we had the visitation, which was Friday, I think the 15th, I think it would tell me if it's not a Friday, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, I looked at Chris and this light had hit him in the stomach and totally lit him up. And about a week before that, Carl Dan was on the cliff tops. So that was probably the start of it, the kind of igniting of this strangeness, because we all saw the ground around Carl's feet light up. I think all of us saw that, but not to the degree that we sort of got. I'm just looking if I can find where I wrote them bits down. So let's have a look. 1 sec. Yeah, 12th of September when the lights visited, and 11th of August we were walking along cliff tops. Let's just have a look here. Jack and Pete asked me if I had called out to them because they heard a voice, but unusually it sounded like it were next to them, shouting. Well, I never said a word. So there's all sorts of weird and sort of wonderful things happening. Are they wonderful? Are they? Is it some kind of trickster element? I tend to think it is. Let's have a look. Stan Smith. Good to see you, Stan. Interdimensional, jumping in and out of our reality to theirs. Why not? I really don't know. I know it's kind of a sweeping statement or a sweeping kind of word that covers a lot of things and talks about something that none of us really know a lot about. Interdimensional. It's gone into a portal, some kind of other sphere of existence. They're easy words to throw out that with no scientific knowledge, not from me anyway, but there's got to be some reason why these things seem to be able to appear and disappear. Like you jumping back to the sphere that Linny filmed, jumping back to the things that I've filmed. It's almost like one moment they're there, 1 minute, the next moment they've gone. The lights that we see over the sea, which seem to have, I don't mean switched off, pardon the pun, but they seem to have it's simmered down. We're not getting as much of that activity now, but we're getting it may be simmered down or ramped up because the actual light that we're getting now is around us. We're seeing things up close and personal. That was just spectacular. And then when I what did I say? 12th of September, and I only knew that because Chris told me. And the 15th of October for Kevin's footage. But it just fascinating, don't you think? Right, let's just jump to some more questions if there is any, and if not, I've got a little story that I want to cover if I have time. Let's have a look. Linny says, Jeremy went looking for it with his torch. Not a thing. A great catch. Thanks for adding that. I did think he'd got his torch with him, Ian. So, like you're saying, if you're looking with a thermal, a torch beam means nothing. You know, you could put the most powerfulest torch on in the world onto an area where there's a thermal, and thermal doesn't detect it. It only detects a heat signature. You know, it might detect the heat coming from the torch itself if it were close enough. But Jeremy also, as Linny's just pointed out, had his torch with him. So this figure, it's not there. It's fascinating, isn't it? And if you remember, I don't know what year, but where are we, 2025? I think probably 2023. Once again, Jeremy were there. I'd got the thermal camera, picked up a huge oval heat source on the hillside, very close to where Linny filmed his sphere. Jeremy went down, advanced down towards it, and I've got thermal in one eye, psionics at the other. So you've got best of both worlds. And you can hear me directing him to it because he's talking to me on his phone. And, you know, there's Tom Waters, there's a few other people. Somebody's got my phone, it's on speakerphone. And he's saying, where is it? Where is it? I said, you're in front of it. Couldn't see a thing. Yet I can't see nothing glowing through the psionics, and I can see this huge heat source in front of Jeremy. You can't deny there's something up there. You can't deny that there's something strange happening. And it's brilliant. I mean, it's a lot of time, you know, we'll spend hours and hours, literally hours and hours, week after week without anything happening. But you know, that little touch of the light that interacted with us 3 or 4 times a few weeks ago, that's enough. Seriously, I don't know what you guys think. Some of you people will be in the chat because you've had an experience of your own, and you may have only had one, but you're here because that was enough to sort of pique your interest and want you to search and look for more. And that can't be a bad thing, can it, really? Anyway, right, let's have a look here. That's a good one, which we will be doing that, Scotch Mist. Any way of calculating the figure's size? Well, we've got some fence posts. Do you want me to play it again? And I can't see you saying yeah, to be honest. Yes, but let's imagine you're saying yeah. Put a thumbs up. And we'll just do it again. Let's have a look. And add to stay.
I'm not sure what that is.
Color palette, so that we get a bit more detail on it as it goes further down. It will fill
Just for reference, there's the fence.
Post, which is further down than the fence post. That's
the camera,
which is a lot closer.
No.
You can see the outline of the cliffs in the distance.
Looks like a person.
There's no deep ruts and ravines here. I'm So I hope you didn't mind watching it again, but there's no deep ravines or anything. There's nowhere really for anybody to hide. There genuinely isn't. And when we put that together, I'll put some daylight footage into it as well, so you can see where we would have advanced to, and you'll see to the left of where is filming, you've got the North Sea. To the right, you've got fields. And your guess is as good as mine, guys. I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. What we got here. That video and sighting reminds me of some of the shadow Bigfoot sightings from various sources. Thank you, Chris. Yep. And I just don't know, mate. I really don't. Let's just keep going. Lee Roscoe, thank you. Truth Proof for the support as always. Yeah, thanks for support, guys. And let's have a look what we got. There's been 370 in tonight, I think, at one point. I'm not certain. There's over 364. So if you've not pressed the like and subscribe, just consider doing it. It's absolutely free. Just shows a little bit of support. And while I'm doing that, I might as well say, if you want the Truth Proof books, if you want to purchase any of these books, truthproof.uk. Same for the Wolflands DVD that myself and Les made. Hard copies of that, truthproof.uk. If you, as I say every week, but if you ordered one tonight, it'll be in post tomorrow morning. And Wolflands Wolflands, the actual film, Amazon Prime, you can download it there and you can read all the Truth Proof books on Kindle. They're all, there's no order in which to buy these apart from that one. That's Night People, about my own experiences. But all of the other books, you could pick number 4 up and it wouldn't matter, because they're all stories of the strange and unusual by people just like you. Seriously, that's what it is. First-hand accounts. There's no friend of a friend told me with these books. So that over. Let's see if there's any more questions. And see, Gemma's doing moderating. Bumps in. Rain Man. Okay. Not seen Raid. Light Dazzles. The Saxon. I've done half of these, haven't I? Sorry, guys, because I only get to a few at names. And you know, some people go, oh, why alt name calling? Why do you call names out? Why not? Some people like it. If you don't, it's no hardship, is it? It's not really costing you out, so you just have to deal with it. And let's just go. Let's do this. We've been having strange noises and voices in our landline phone recently, similar to what you and I think Linny described. It's all happening for you. Yeah, it's very strange. And I wrote a few things down, highlighted, and the only one that isn't highlighted were the phone messages. I were going to talk about them, but I realised I've done it now for the last few weeks, but it's not stopping. It's odd. And I'm not hearing most of it. So I rang Pete a few weeks ago, and or Pete rang me. I don't know which way around it was, but as we're talking, it's on speakerphone, I'm assuming, because his wife heard it as well. And somebody said, ignore him. Real ignore him kind of voice that came over the phone. He says, did you hear that? Because it weren't me. And he knew it weren't me, but I never heard it. Linny's heard voices and names while he's been on phone. I've been on phone to various people, and people have heard talking. Chris Mack, who's in chat, has been on the phone to Jack, who comes up on Cliff Tops. They're hearing strange noises and sounds when they're talking on the phone. So there's more. I mean, and I don't think it's just resigned to myself and team of people that go up there. Bumps into is hearing these noises. It'd be interesting. What are you looking into? Or do you think you're looking into anything that might be of interest to people? I don't know that we are, but we're certainly putting the time in, and we're putting the hours in and talking about things. I mean, we've just shown that now on camera, that what Jeremy were lucky enough to film. You can't deny that there's something there. Now, ghillie suit, somebody suggested. What if it's some kind of new military tech that the people are testing? Some military organization are testing. They want to know if we can detect it. I don't know. You would think, though, because I might be talking out my backside here, but you would think, though, that they wouldn't want to test it on us, because they'd have a far more superior, sophisticated detection equipment than what we've got. But who can say? Let's have a look. So let's have a look. Steve Collin here. What's he got? I still believe 1799 Battle of Flamborough Head has something to do with these sightings. John Paul's ghost has been seen up there. Okay. Who can say? I mean, it must be littered with the spirits then and the ghosts of deceased people up and around these areas. And you remember hundreds of years ago, probably going back even further than that, there wouldn't have been graveyards or anything. And if ghosts are roaming these lands, I don't know whether they are or they aren't, by the way, but potentially there's been people interned in this land all over the place before the advent of graveyards. Who can say? John Paul's ghost. What was this boat called? Bonham? Oh, John. There's something Richard. I can't remember. Bonham Richard. And nobody's ever found that boat, if that's the one that we're on about, or that galleon. I don't think it's ever been found, and there's been much speculation, and lots of people have tried to find it during the Battle of Flamborough Head. Right, okay. The Battle of Flamborough Head. It sounds like... Stop yourself, Paul. Let's have a look at this. Chris Mack. Paul, I was on the phone to Jack last night, and there were some very funny noises in the background that we could both hear. What do you think, guys? Are we all reading too much in this? Are we listening for things that aren't there? Chris is pretty level. Jack is. I think we all are. And in the words of Steve Ashbridge, if you think you've seen something, you have. And likewise, if you think you've heard something, you've heard it. You know when it's not the norm. So I think there's something afoot. I don't know what, but there's something happening, isn't there? I see Blue Shift Rob's in, Tino's in. Let's have a look. Light dazzles. Here we go. What if it's experimental camouflage and someone's freely walking about undetected by normal sight? That's a scary thought. It really is like that. Do you know? And I wouldn't rule that out. There's been a few reports. I mean, can anybody remember? And if you can't, you're going to have to look through some of the other live streams and maybe some of the shorts, because there was a fisherman, excuse me, at Hornsey, and I'll not say his name. He didn't mind at time, but I just want to be certain. And I think we're going back to 2020. I don't know. And he's gone fishing. His dad's dropped him off. Late teens. Doesn't live far from where he's fishing at Hornsey. And he's just coming up to midnight, he says, and the sea is roaring. It's absolutely raging. There's a full-on squall and sort of bad weather, and he's crouched down beneath the sea wall to sort of protect himself. And when he looks to his left, he says there's a figure walking up the beach. He says it's not even high tide. It's close to high tide, but it's absolutely crashing. And it's a very slim, diminutive figure. He says if it's a woman, it's the most slim, wafer-thin woman he's ever seen. And because I said, did you see the outline? Did you see the curvature of, say, breasts and hips? No, just this very thin figure. And it's walking along the shoreline. And he's looking at it for a moment. And he doesn't stand up because he wants that to see him. He stands up to sort of just relieve his legs a little bit because he's been sat in that position. And when he stands up, this figure stops. And in his words, it pixelated out of view. It just dissolved. What's that? Is that what we're seeing up there? It dissolved, just literally dissolved. He said he had his filleting knife with him, which he uses if he caught the fish, if there were a fish suitable to take home. He said, and he's trying to ring his dad to come and pick him up. He's terrified, literally, instantly terrified. And he's got this knife in his hand and he's trying to pack all his gear away. He's hastily doing all this. And I hope he's listening to this. He might even jump in. I don't know. And Dad arrives a short time later. They go home. If I'd got this story in front of me, you'd see that there's an element of missing time. I think there's 20 minutes of missing time from when Dad picked him up to when they got home. It just couldn't have been. That's not counting the journeys that they knew could have happened. And then for a time after that, they were drawing all the blinds. I'm going to say blinds or curtains because I don't know which. Can't remember now, of the property, because a lot of glass in this property. We know we all have windows, but this particular property had a lot of glass. Quite a nice property, and one way as well. But they felt like they were being watched, or he did. So that took a bit of getting over. So is that the same thing? Is that what Jeremy's managed to capture, or are we all playing on something and it's not real? I don't know. You didn't imagine that figure pixelating out of sight. I've got one here, and I'll read this. The Vanishing Man Connection. And it's not really vanishing, but there's a guy. Right, let's just do this. Have we got time? I think so. Hi, Paul. Just watch your video on the dark figure on Hornsey Beach, which I've just been talking about. The one where the dark figure vanished in front of the angler's eyes. I have a similar story to share. Well, similar in the sense that involves something happening on the beach along the same stretch of coastline. I've called this guy Joe, and he was metal detecting on Bridlington's South Beach. He told me that it was mid-January 2020, so all right with year, weren't it? 2020, when it happened to this young fella, when it happened. So it was winter. It was very cold, pitch black, and he thinks the time was about 1 a.m. in the morning. He'd only recently got his metal detector, and he'd been going up most nights, metal detecting during the night. And I don't know, I wouldn't fancy metal detecting in night, would you? I'd be a bit frightening, I think. But right, but then again, we stand on these cliff tops. He told me that it was roughly between the harbour wall and the outfall waste pipe. I realise that's going to mean nothing to you guys if you don't live in Bridlington, but there you go. He says he was going about his business detecting, and says that every now and again, and remember, he's got a little light with him and it's just a beach and nothing. Every now and again, he started hearing what sounded like little pebbles landing around him. He said they were hitting the ripples in the sand and the little pools, kind of making him aware, is what he said. Joe added that he did not use any lighting, whilst walking about. His reasoning was that he wanted to remain under the radar. It's fair crack. He also said that the person needed to remain very vigilant, and having a light made him stand out. It's a very good point, hasn't he? You know? Plus, he needed his night vision, and putting a light on and then turning it off does not help. You know, I hate that. I mean, we all carry torches, but if you're trying to look into darkness and there's beams of light just busting out into darkness, you lose your night vision. It just don't come back for several minutes. You just don't acclimatise to the darkness. He told me that he was dressed in his waterproofs, which were all black, so he's pretty well camouflaged down on beach. There's no lights on a beach, is there? The only light he had was the small. I knew he'd got a small torch, just enough to light up any hole that he was digging in. And he said that he was sure no one else would have been able to see him that far down the beach. So he's on low tide. Let's have a look. I asked him to describe what he heard, which was the sound of pebbles landing around him, making a little thud, a little splash as they hit the wet sand. All of this was happening whilst he was walking around in the pitch black. At first, he thought it was just imagining it, and he carried on. Then his detector got a strong signal, and he was on his hands and knees digging the target area. This was the only time he used his little torch. Shining it into the little hole as he was digging, that's when he saw it. A little white pebble appeared out of the darkness and bounced over the hole, like it had been thrown at him. At this point, Joe admits to feeling freaked out and told me that he moved quite some distance away from the area, in fact, a lot further up the beach. But that didn't help, because it started happening again. Remember, at low tide, this beach, which is just flat, there's nothing. It's a beach, remember. It's not like Flamborough or anywhere with rocky areas where you could actually hide. There's nothing. It's just flat sand. It started happening again. The upper part of the beach wasn't as dark because it was only partially illuminated by the lighting from the Bridlington seafront. Let's have a look. We've nearly done with this. And right, he could not see anyone or anything, yet it was happening in this area as well. At that point, Joe had had enough. He packed up his gear and went home. He's 100% sure that he was on the beach alone. Well, he weren't, were he? You know, but you know what the man means. But he was also sure something else was there with him. He said that he covered quite a large area whilst detecting, all under the cover of darkness, and that has never bothered him before. He said it was very cold in the early hours of the morning, and he has to cross a couple of long stretches of water to get down to the low tide. Adding that nobody in their right mind would have been down there. It made no sense. Well, he were down there, weren't he? But you get what he's saying. So is this what it is? You know, and like Dazzles, what if somebody in camouflage equipment is freely walking about undetected by normal sight? That's a scary thought. It is a scary thought. It really is, because, you know, you think to yourself, we're up there. And I've gone up there on my own for years and years. There's only once I've felt that fear. And I never heard anything, nothing was throwing little stones or doing anything like that. But for some reason, the fear descended onto me. But you spot on. It's scary enough in itself. It is. It's a frightening concept to think that potentially something invisible could be up there. And I don't think it's too much of a leap into the dark to suggest that, when you've got stories like the anglers with this pixelating being. And after I put that story out, I was contacted by some other anglers who've been digging bait and at Hornsey once again, and claimed that they'd been struck at the back of the leg, at the back of the head by somebody, but there's nobody there. And that was while there were a group of people. So what is it? And has Jeremy managed to capture something that wanted to remain hidden? If not, we're bringing it into prominence now. We'll just have a look at this question. Rocket, Paul, I know it isn't a gadget show, but I would like to buy a thermal camera, but wonder what you guys are using. You can spend a lot or get a lot of junk. Excuse me. Well, the camera I use is a Pulsar. I think it's a QX36 or 38. I can't even remember. I think Linny's is I'll probably say it wrong. Hick Micro or something like that. And I'm not sure what Jeremy's is. And Jack's got one that goes on his phone. And let me tell you this, they're very good, When you look at these thermal imaging that you can connect to your phone, and I don't mean some app that you download. This is a proper thermal imaging little gadget that you connect to the phone. They're very good. I mean, the Pulsar, yeah, it's great. It's took a lot of hammer over years. It comes out with me all the time, and you consider them pretty much a godsend, but not because of the people. You get an idea of who's about and what's about. So yeah, it depends. Do your homework, like you said, and don't just buy anything. I mean, maybe second-hand. Some of the more expensive ones that are second-hand might be a good buy. But then again, you don't know how much use they've had. Mine's had loads of use, but battery still lasts about 3 or 4 hours. It's a good camera. But you're paying quite a bit of money for them when at the time. So let's just go down here. I hope that helped a little bit. Right, light dazzles. It does as well. You're spot on. By the way, it's just stood there hulking. And still. It's highly disturbing. Well, it never seemed to move. And if it wasn't for the fact that Jeremy does move, and remember, there's 3 or 4 minutes of footage here, and I've only put like a minute and 20 or 30 seconds on. But if it's not for the fact that Jeremy does move, if Jeremy had just sort of turned his camera off and come back to us, we might have been looking at something different. But it's shaped like a human, isn't it? Or it's got the human type shape, or the figure of something that's bipedal, which is fascinating. But when he moves, it disappears. But when we put it together, we will go down there, probably a night shot as well, and do it in the night. I'll probably walk down there with Jeremy, maybe, I don't know, one day this week or next week if he's got time, and then I'll do the same thing in daylight. And we can sort of pair them together, and you guys can join the journey with us if that makes sense, because that's what we're here for. We're looking for answers, and if there's a plausible, explainable answer to this, don't matter, does it? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to eliminate all of the possibilities, and if we're left with a true unknown, makes it a little bit more exciting, doesn't it? Let's have a look. What's this? Lee Roscoe, you purchase all the Truth Pub books. Set of 4 night people. Truth Pub website. Thanks, Lee. I thought it were a question then. Sorry, guys. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Right. Just read there's an astronomy group, AstroDog, about to hold strange stargazing events. Bempton Cliffs. Be interesting to see what they pick up. Yeah, that'd be good. AstroDog about to hold stargazing events on Bempton. Oh, send us link to that. Where did you see that Iron Mogul treble 6? That'd be interesting. Or not is the case. Mind you, it wouldn't affect us. I mean, because we can go anywhere along them cliffs, so it doesn't really matter. AstroDog. Yeah, that's good. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can do a few more questions. I'm sorry if I've missed your question, guys, if I don't get down that far, because I can see the map. Paul, didn't someone else see a giant figure on the cliff while the witness was down on the beach a few years ago? Yes. Yeah, that's correct. And there were one on, again, what's called Holmes's Gutter at Flamborough Head. And then there's another one, and I'm not sure at year, a guy, once again, Thornick holiday camp, walking along the cliff tops. And he saw he heard a lamb or a sheep bleating out and sounded in distress. Not doing the same one I've just done, by the way. This is but in the same field. And he saw a light then on the ridge of land that I've just spoken about, and which we know is Danes Dyke. He assumed it was somebody with a dog, or somebody walking a dog, should we say. But the light just disappeared and he never saw anything else. But then he saw the silhouetted outline of something that he described as a bear on two legs, just slowly go down and out of sight, and he panicked. And I've got the full report of that one. I don't think I've got that. Well, I know I haven't got that here, but I'm looking as though I've got it, but I haven't. Let's have a look. Jane says the figure looks really bulky, in a way, a bit like an ape. Just my thoughts. Yeah. It's Jane. It's difficult, but I think what we can all come away with is he has filmed something that looks like it stood on two legs, even though you can't see, the two legs as such. That's what it looks like to me. And I rang him today because I was going to see if he'd come on and talk about it, but he didn't answer the phone, and that's probably why he didn't answer the phone. He'll be watching this now laughing. But no worries. He laughs it out anyway. That's this. One man's UFO is another man's fairy or fae. Yeah. It depends. It's all interpretation. And that's basically what you're saying. Because remember, and I can only speak from the places that I visit, but Danes Dyke, we've got the ghost of the White Lady, but a lot of people report seeing a sphere of light, but their interpretation is they've seen the White Lady. So yeah, I can kind of take that. That's good. Let's have a look. Is that a dog by its side? I saw Linda. I saw a little black area at the side of it, and I don't think it was, to be honest with you. If I thought people wanted to see it again, because I can't get far enough into questions, I'd play it. But last thing I want to do is let's have a look. It's odd, but it does look, to me, look like a horse starts. Oh Christ, no, mate, no. I can categorically say it's not a horse. Why would I say that? Because there's no livestock like horses that are along those cliff tops. There's a fence. I'll give that. There's a fence to the left-hand side on his way down. If you're on right, obviously, on way up, it's on right-hand side. But literally 200 or 300 yards past that, there's no fence. So if it's a horse, it's not going to fare well. I've never known any livestock like that on those cliff tops. So that's just my take on it. Let's have a look. But they're all worth throwing in there because obviously you don't know lie at land, or if you do, has there been any more activity at Staxton Wold? Steve Collin might know if there has, but I've not heard anything recently, but I do want to get up there. I'd like to get up there this week if I could, but I'm not sure time's going to allow. Right, Scotch Mist. If this is alien, it might not be a backpack. It might be some source of whatever gas it breathes. I've honestly, I've no idea. I don't know. I really don't. And alien gas. Yeah, there's plenty of alien gas on them cliff tops, I'll tell you that now. Where are we? Different topic, but have you been told of any recent suspected UFO abduction cases in confidence when the witness didn't want their own personal details to be public? Yes, yeah, I have, yeah. And I've got some brilliant cases and really, really good stories that I will be sharing. Not the ones that if somebody said, I'll send you this and I want to talk to you about it, but please don't speak about it openly, even if you change name. And there's a reason for doing that, is because sometimes hearing your own story told kind of brings it to life. And if it's been a trauma for you, it amplifies it. So if somebody just wants to share something but doesn't want me to talk about it in public, then I'll respect that every time, because there's, you can kind of bring something to life for people. And I don't mean you revive it and it happens again, but it probably comes to life in their head again. So I only talk about things that people have seen if they'll allow me to do that. And I don't mind changing names. That's not a problem. And if somebody tells me something truthfully and they don't want the exact location, I'll change location. And I don't mean I'll lie and make it in another country. I'm talking about, if it were in Bridlington or if it were in Rotherham, I would say that, but I wouldn't be going into the details of the street and a little bit more like that. So you've just got to be fair with people, haven't you? That's the last thing you want, is to create trauma. Suspected abductions, yeah, it's frightening. Let's have a look. Let's have a look what Rob says. I can't agree more, mate. You got to buy the books. Night People will blow your mind. I think out of all the books, Rob, I do honestly think Night People, because somebody spoke about it today. Michael spoke about it today. He called round for something, and because he's off home tomorrow, and he said he bought the books and he bought Night People, but he didn't think it would be of any interest to him because he likes the reports. But he said he really enjoyed it. He didn't have to say that, by the way. Let's have a look. Because we're... Well, to be honest, Jane, I've probably done this. Can you explain what's happening to your phone or happening on our phone? I don't know, Jane. I don't know. It's really, really strange. We touched on it. All the lads that are coming onto the cliff tops, they're having conversations, sometimes with me, and they're hearing voices at their end, and I'm not hearing them. Well, just do this one then quickly, because I did it other day, but I can't wrap my head around this. We use EE, my auntie, as she's Talk, and her son is BT. All different addresses. So, nobody lives we're all within miles of each other, but they're different addresses. So let me get this right. I had a conversation with my auntie the other week, and as I'm talking to her, I'm having this conversation, and there's a few repetitive things that I'm being asked. So you get the picture. And my replies are pretty much the same all the time. So that's that. That's the conversation. It's done with. My wife goes up to her son's, which is at a different address. Now, she checks his phone because it's flashing. And any messages we pick up, and we're not carers. Well, that's what we are, but we're not. You'd say you would a carer if you're getting paid for it. We're not. But she texts the messages, and if there's a doctor's appointment to make, or if there's anything important to do, she will sort it out for him, or I will, or one of our daughters will. So she checked the messages, and the conversation that I'd had with his mum days before, doesn't live with her, remember, is on his answer phone. The full conversation. How do you work that out? I took my DJI up. I didn't use a voice recorder, and I filmed myself going through messages. Well, Mary went through them, and we recorded it. It can't be, can it? How can that be? And tell you what else is interesting. You can hear me talking as loud as anything, and you can only hear, like, you imagine if I was speaking to somebody on the phone, and I've got the phone to my ear, I can hear it clearly, but the person 2 or 3 feet away, they can hear their voice, but not loud. That's what it's like. So it's almost as though it's been recorded in our room. Does that make sense? I hope I've explained it and it's made sense, but it doesn't make any sense because it's not possible for it to be on his answer phone. So what's happening with the phones? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't mind putting it out there because it's the truth. That's what's been happening. Just quirky things like that. So there you go. Let's just, right. I said I was going to finish at 8, but we'll just do another question, if that's okay with you. They may be the military are testing it on them. You are just an extra and are drawing them in. Well, yeah, it's difficult to say. there will be more of it, user. You know, it's I like your thumbnail there as well. There will be more of it, I suppose, but I think this is why, at this particular time, we probably do need to be going up in groups of people and not singularly. But we shall see. And you might have heard Andy Hardy talking the other day when he came onto the Thursday stream about the strange interaction he had with those people that said they were search and rescue on the cliff tops. Somebody else has contacted me, and they've had. I've got to get the information off them, so I'm not going to go into detail. But they've had another. Sounds like a similar experience up there as well. So that they're going to pass me information on in the next day or two, I would think. Let's just have a look here. Dragonborn. I think all of these events are not coincidence. They are happening for a reason. Yeah, I would agree. And obviously, everything has a reason, and for every action there is a reaction. And just what that reaction is, or what the reaction from us is. Is it for me to be vocal about it now? I wouldn't have thought so, would you? But I don't want to not talk about it because, well, I don't think that it's something that should be hidden. I think there's too many researchers out there. You might be one of them. I don't mean you, by the way, Dragonborn, but there's too many researchers out there that just sort of sit on the information. You know, I get loads and loads of reports in, and some of them, they're not gathering dust, but some of them I'm not going to get round to just yet. As winter comes on, I will get round to them, but I always reply to people, and I always, where best I can, tell them that, you know, I am going to be on to this. But you know, there's only me. Somebody had a little pop in comments on one of the little films I put out saying, if Paul's not writing any more books, why don't he put all these reports on a database? Because Truth Proof website, we've got all truthproof.uk, what Don Lodge helps maintain, has loads of reports that have not been seen anywhere else. They're unique to it. But in a lot of the time, people want that little bit of personal interaction. And sometimes they don't even want it put on a database or even want me to talk about it outside. They just want a space to talk about these things. It's not as easy as just putting reports on a database. If you did that and just threw them out there, you might realize you've just made a mistake and somebody said they didn't want the name using, or can you omit this? You have to sort of go through them. And I like to talk to people. You know, it'd be easy to put them on a database and not have that personal touch, but I like to talk to people and just gather a little bit more wherever possible. Right. I'm rambling, aren't I? So one sec. Let's just have a quick look before we say good night to you all. I thought I'd seen another question there and I might have just missed it. No, that were Dragonborns. So just bear with me, guys. Sorry about this. Let's have a look. Were the settings on Jeremy's thermal camera on black hot, Paul, or is the figure showing cold? I don't think the figure's showing a heat signature. And, you know, we'll clarify this probably next Sunday. But I don't think the figure's showing a heat signature. I took it into DaVinci Resolve that. And I've not added anything to the figure, by the way, people, in case anybody thinks I have. But I've just sort of altered a few things so that we can see. It's the first part of that film, if you watch it again, is how Jeremy filmed it. And then I've added a little bit more sharpness so that you're in no doubt there's a figure there. And I'll do a little bit more to it as well, you know, and try and get some stills and see if you're limited. It's not great quality, is it? It's for the expense, what the thermal cameras are, the actual quality is very poor. But that's not what they're designed for, are they? They're designed to pick up heat signatures in the dark. And they're not really a filming apparatus. It's just something that they've got that capability. So, yeah, I'd love another thermal. Amanda's got one who comes on cliff tops with us. She's not been on up there for a few months now, but she's got a pulsar, the model up from mine, and there's a massive difference in quality. You can see it. Let's have a look. The 40. I thought I saw a white hot spot. You did see the white hot 40 and is spot on. That's why, because I've put those little bits of text on the screen. When he pans over to the camera, the fixed camera, the top of it's hot. That's so it was on white hot, but he does change the color palette during the filming. So I can't say exactly what it's on throughout it all. I've just chopped it up so that we've condensed it for you guys tonight to have a look at it. Yeah, so the white hot part of the camera, the fixed camera. Let's have a look. What's this? Hi, Paul. Question: the skull experiment had a hand appear that Leslie Keane touched. What do you make of that? And is there a plasma electromagnetic storm happening with? Good God, you're asking me a lot there, Terence. Atlas, I've got no knowledge, not a lot of knowledge on it. You've probably got a lot more than me. And I throw it out there again. If anybody wants to come on a Sunday and maybe share some of your stories or share some of your views, then please do. And the skull experiment, and a hand appeared that Leslie Keane touched. Is it skull that or scroll? Is it that might be some kind of experiments that I'm thinking of the skull experiments, but you're saying the scroll, and it might be somebody that's just created another set of experiments, should we say? Because I know Leslie Keane is quite renowned in the UFO and paranormal fraternity, so that could be something else entirely. And she touched it. Well, why wouldn't she? You know, who's to say that these things that are coming through from somewhere else do not take on substance, as in a physical, when they're actually here? Yeah, I know at Skinwalker that I think I'm going to get shot down if I'm wrong here, but I think that they shot a wolf and a piece of flesh came off it, and as fast as and the wolf survived and ran away, but as fast as they're looking at this piece of flesh, it were decomposing and it had gone. I don't know what that tells us. Look, there's another instance then. People say, well, why don't we see any corpses of Bigfoot or Dogman or werewolf? Well, if they're not of this realm, what if they do just kind of dematerialize, fragment and disappear fairly quickly if anything happened to them whilst they're in this sphere of existence? These are only thoughts, aren't they? I've got no proof of anything that I'm saying there. Just like the rest of us, we just throw these things out there. But I don't know. I wish you'd stop with these questions. I want to go. I'm only joking. He's here again. Terence, we still don't have any answers about the Hastalan lights. What are your thoughts, mate? Great. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you've come again, Terence. I'm only joking. What are your thoughts? Well, I did the first website that I ever did, 2002, 2004, ILF UFO, Intelligent Light Forms. That was the reason I sort of created that word. Because some of the lights that we're seeing up on those cliff tops, some of the lights that we were seeing on the East Yorkshire Wolds, which is about 10 to 12 miles inland, there's an intelligence to them. There's an awareness to them. And there's no doubt about it. And I don't think it's man-made phenomena. Myself and Steve Ashbridge spent years up on the Wolds, and to the point where we're seeing lights in trees, in hedgerows, not up in the sky, along the hedgerows of fields, and where Steve's gone running towards these things and they've just gone out. You can see RAF Staxton Wold in the distance, probably 12 mile away. It's an RAF base. That don't mean that's projecting these lights, but we'd seen all sorts. So intelligent light forms. The Hastalan lights is what you're asking. Well, good friend of mine, Philip Mantle, he's one of his best friends, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's one of the principal players at Hastalan. And I don't know how old the guy is. I'm assuming he's probably in his 60s to 70s. So he's viewed these lights for many, many years. Now, Philip's of the opinion, and you'll not mind me saying this, that it's Earth phenomena, tectonic plates and creating Earth lights. But the guy at Hastalan believes, I won't say he's on the same page as me, but he believes that there's more to these lights than Earth lights, should we say. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. And I don't think, because I think the intelligent light forms are what they are. That's what I believe. It doesn't mean that I'm right. And it doesn't mean that we both can't be right. We know that, activity, the tectonic plates and the brushing together deep within the earth can create these, is it plasma balls that appear? So there's no reason why any of us can be right or wrong. So that's that one. Anyway, I hope there's no more questions. I'm joking. Let's have a look. What's this, Lee Roscoe? Yes, Lee Roscoe, turbo light. I'm assuming, I don't know. I'm assuming, though, that might have been about that light that buzzed around us 3 or 4 weeks ago. That was just incredible. You know, every live stream, I'll probably end up mentioning it because it was a visitation. We got touched by something. And that, if that's man-made tech, it's man-made tech that's independent. It weren't a torch beam that were coming down from the sky or from distant fields or a beam from a laser. This was a light that hit Chris in the stomach and went across and then hit Pete and then hit Linny. It was just bouncing around. Really strange. Let's have a look. I think we've just about done, guys. Oh, the shadow. Let's have a look. I think it's related to the radar testing, which was also a front for other secretive radar and radio frequency. What about the 1.6 gigahertz frequency, like they get on Skinwalker? Oh, well, we've got it, Shadow, and there's and he's probably in the chat. If you are, before I shut it down, even if I don't get to it, just mention it. We've got a good friend, a really good friend of mine called Peter Masters, who's a bit of a genius when it comes to this kind of tech. And the 1.6 gigahertz is what he's been testing. We took it all. We took his testing equipment. We took a laptop, all Pete's gear, and myself, Les came with it, and we went to the Rudson Monolith. It was kicking out 1.6 gigahertz. Why? We went the next time, there's nothing. He set it up, he'll ring me up and he said, I've got 1.6 kicking out. We went to Bempton, we got it there. Why? I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. And once again, I'm not sufficiently skilled. I think my skill is relaying other people's accounts and talking about my own experiences, maybe writing these truth proof books. Spent bulk of my life knocking nails in wood, people, didn't I? But that's what I had to do for a living, but I much prefer this. Let's put it that way. Let's have a look. Terence, are you still here? I'm joking. Where are your top spots of interest where portals or thinning of the veil occur, resulting in shadow beings, fae, and such? Do you know, Terence, I think these places are all over the UK and all over the world. But there's no doubt that we know in the areas that we go that there's certain little portions of land that seem capable of producing more unexplained phenomena, for want of a better word, than others. And when you get in this particular zone where we've been standing, and you hear me of talking about the huge sphere that myself and Lee saw, the white square that Bob and Gemma saw, the sphere that Linny filmed, the other side of that location, literally 200 yards away, the big square of light that Carl Dan managed to capture on thermal. And that's just to name a few, loads and stuff. I mean, everybody see that orb that I'd got flashing on the side of the hill? That was there. So there are areas. So, but where are your top spots of interest? I like to go to Staxton Wold. The back of Staxton Wold, you can see the radar base, but you can also look out over the wolds, what we've just been talking about. I like Cottam in East Yorkshire, going towards Sledmere. That were very active around 2006 to 2009. Really, really active with unexplained phenomena and farmers reporting these spheres of light, the intelligent light forms. So there are certain areas, I mean, but let's face it, you know, you can actually be in your own home. And I don't mean that we need to frighten anybody, Terence, but things happen in our own homes, don't they? You know, and so sometimes you don't have to go far. I think it's all a matter of what's in here and the actual mindset and the thoughts that you're putting out. You know, we talk about people, meditating or using various, should we say, tools to connect with this unknown. And I say it every time because I genuinely stand by what I'm saying. We're not promoters of the Ouija board. We don't take anything like that up there and use anything like that. But my point is, people who, what the hell is that? But my point is, people who do, you know, on occasion in their own home, connect with the unknown other. They actually have the connection with something. I'm not saying it's good either. So, but I guess my point is that maybe the phenomena is just a thought process away. They talk about the hitchhiker effect. And I think, I don't mean you guys, but I think a lot of people imagine that if you go to that location, then you take it back with you. Somehow it's there, the presence, you've carried it back with you. I'm not sure you do. I think if you go to these locations and maybe with the right mindset, you do connect with something, you do sense something, maybe even see something. You think about it when you get home. I think it's just a thought process away. I don't think this phenomena sees distance like we perceive distance, as in, we'd have to jump on a plane and travel hours and hours to get to another country, or hours and hours to get to the top of Scotland. I think it's for the phenomena, it's a thought process away. Think how easy it is for a phone. I could ring somebody in America now. I know that's different, but do you know what I mean? It's that easy. And we're dealing with something that we've got no concept of its science. If it is a science, it might just be a natural ability that these things have. We talk about things in the terms of science and what is and is not possible. But these things, it might just be a natural ability. So let's have a look. Thanks, Terence, for that question. Lee Prendergast, thanks for that, Lee. Appreciated. And if anybody else has done that, appreciate it. If I don't get to it, there's no stopping Terence, is there? What are your thoughts on CERN, the Large Hadron Collider? There's a lot of reports of portals and strange goings on. Terence, you probably know more about it than me. And I do know everything you've said, I've sort of heard, but I've not looked into it in any detail, mate. So I'm not in a position to sort of, get any information. We thought that the dog figure shape had ears. Do you think that, Paul? We thought that the dog figure shape had ears. I'm not sure what you mean there, Victoria. Unless you've sent me something, in which case I apologise. So, right. That Staxton Wold question come up again. I've just seen from Blue Shift Rob. There's nothing happening. Right. All interpretation. PJA says, looks like a large being talking down to a smaller one. It's hard to say, mate, isn't it? But anything's possible. Earlier, a month ago, did a very early morning walk in Danes Dyke with Jack. And as I'm walking round, we put it on as a short. I can't remember what it's called, but it'll be within about 3 weeks ago. I kind of sense movement and something there, and I say it at the time, and we carry on walking round. When I get home and look at the footage, there's this, what some people would interpret as a plume of breath in the darkness that goes past. I'm saying, did you see that, or did you feel that? And then this happens. But other people have looked in it and looked at it, froze the frames, and said they can see a shape in it. They can see an almost like a being in it. I can't. All I can say is that we walked around there for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. And in that footage, because you're only getting a 20-minute film, but that's just condensed. There's no more plumes of breath anywhere. Yet I perceive something there, and then we see that. Is it true unexplained phenomena? I guess we'll not know. Do I think closest thing we've talked to about anything that's proof of something tonight is Jeremy's footage. You can't deny that there's a figure there, I don't think. But whether it's a flesh and blood man that somehow, like somebody suggested, got some kind of kit on or some kind of camouflage clothing that's rendered them invisible, I don't know. In which case, then how does that work on a fisherman in 2020 when at height of a full storm with this diminutive figure, tiny, slim figure, walking up beach that just vanishes from view? That's not normal, is it? Am I trying to compare the two? In a way I am, yeah. But there you go. Let's have a look. Is the figure stood behind or in front? It stood in front of the fence further down. In front of the fence, much further down, in my opinion, Fortian. Oh, that's Chris, isn't it? Yeah. Right, I'm going in a minute, guys. Let's have a look. Night People is flipping terrifying. You are a braver man than me. Night People. I'm assuming you've read Night People, and yeah, it's. I've tried to lay that book out as as the events happened. And you know that there were even more events that never made it tonight, people. And I'll just without sounding bitter, I'll just tell you guys, I'll do it as quick as I can. I once gave somebody, out of the goodness of mine and Mary's heart, a really good quality chair, because we purchased a 3-seater, a 2-seater, and a single chair from an expensive shop. And I didn't want the chair, and I gave it away. I drove it to this person's house in my van and gave it to him. But this person also wanted to look at this book, which I called the Book of the Strange, and it had like a diary of things that had been happening, really detailed. I can't replicate it. And I left it at the side of that chair when I left house. Left it there. When I got home, I said, I've left my book. Oh, well, I'll have a look. We'll get it you. I was still asking for that book 2 years later. Never had it. Didn't have the book. Person rang me up drunk one night and said his wife he did have a book and they'd thrown it away. I don't mind saying that because it's true. I was furious, to be honest with you. I can't replicate that book. And if you're watching this today, you've still got it, send it me because I want it. And they know they've got it. But that's it. So you made me say that, user. Let's have a look. Hi, Paul. I emailed you a while ago about an experience I had. You got back to me and then sent another 2 emails. I don't email, so I'm not sure. Ah, right. Okay, mate. Right. I'll have a look. Dayton. Seriously, I'll have a look. It might not be tonight, but I shall have a look at that. Thank you. Let's have a look. Come on. We weren't doing this, you know. We were only going to do an hour. You're taking advantage of me. Paul, it sounds like you're being monitored, mate. Yeah, it could be, you know, but I like to think that we're doing this and we're looking for evidence of unexplained phenomena, and we're not really treading on people's toes. We don't, you know, I don't know if we're doing anything that heavy that we'd be on anybody's radar, but I guess you never know. Terry O'Donnell. Right, let's have a look. Did the answer phone state the message was from your phone that you were using for that conversation? Well, it was on my cousin's phone in his property. And that's a good point. I'm not sure it stated anything, to be honest with you, but I'll have a look at that because it's still on. We've left it on because only people that take messages off that phone are us. But it definitely sounded as though wherever it had been recorded from, it had been recorded externally from our room, because my voice was loud and clear, and the other voice, it was just as though, you guys know what I'm talking about. If I'm talking now, you can hear me, but if you're listening to a phone call between me and someone else, you can only hear like a little bit of their chatter. But you know what they're saying. You know what I mean? It's that conversation. But it made a good point. Let's have a look. Oh, my God. Hi, Paul. I have 2 incidents from October the 17th, Filey Beach, and on the cliff near Filey Golf Club, ILFs. And brilliant. I will email you in the week, work permitting. Thank you. And obviously, if work's not permitting, week after or whenever it suits you, that's brilliant. And yeah, I look forward to that. Thank you. It just adds a little bit more meat to the bone, doesn't it? And it just fills that jigsaw up, not just for me, but for you guys as well, because Yosemite Sam, you're also looking for some answers. I can see that. You must be yourself. And obviously what I've spoken about today, you're thinking, well, then maybe that ties in a little bit with what I saw, which is brilliant. We're all in it for the same thing. Anybody who thinks I'm doing this because I'm making loads of money, you want to think again. I make loads of money when I was working on the tools as a joiner, knocking nails in wood. Didn't look right, that, did it? Let's just do that again. Right. Let's have a look here. Linny. No, Paul, it was Lee with his torch on and off all the time. Haha. Yeah. Some people are quite keen with torches. And I won't say it annoys us, but some people like to just light up the land. But I don't think when you're up there, you're trying to look for something of an unexplained nature. I think a bit of darkness. I don't mean we stand like monks, but a bit of darkness and just soak up the atmosphere helps a lot more. Let's have a look. I don't know if Pete's in tonight. If you are, Pete, I see Margaret Webster's in. Let's have a look. Light Dazzle. We've done Rob Blue Shift, Lee Roscoe, Alison, Gemma. Thanks a lot for help, guys. Right, I get it there. Victoria means the footage you showed, I think, Paul. Thank you. Appreciated. Terence, we'll just do Terence. Thanks, Paul. I follow you and Steve Meara. Your works are brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. And getting close to the paranormal. Last question. No, your questions have been welcome, Terence, as has everybody's. And there will be some more, guys. And I shouldn't be running down here. Right. Looks like we've actually run into the last one. Let's have a look here. Cheers. It should state you have a message from X number. Thank you. Okay. On that note, then, guys, it's been brilliant tonight talking to you. Planned on doing an hour, and thanks to all your brilliant questions and just positivity. We've done an hour and 45 just under. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thursday, fingers crossed, talking to what's his name now? Come on, Reed Summers. Absolutely incredible guy. So get your questions ready. UFO related, alien related for Reed Summers. If you've not listened to this man speak, listen to some of podcasts he's done, and then you'll see why I think this is special. I don't think there's anyone currently talking more fluently and with as much knowledge about the subject of the UFO as what Reed Summers is. UAP, UFO, call them what you want. So how do I get rid of that? Let me just do that just temporarily and doing that. Great stream as always. Thank you. And on that note, guys, I'm going to say good night and fingers crossed we'll see you Thursday. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Bye.
Oh, wow.
Saw it twice. So I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.